Hey all, I'm back. This time let's talk about Foundry, okay? You know, our alliance does pretty well in Foundry, but sometimes I think a good basic game guide tutorial is still worth it. There's always things to learn. And so here, right, I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel, okay? Because there's already a pretty good tutorial on the game wiki. You can go visit it yourself. The link is at the top. Let's just use this wiki guide to do a basic rundown of the game. Okay, here we go. There's 3 sections. We're mostly gonna blow through section 1 because it's pretty boring shit, except for a few important points I'll highlight. Honestly, y'all, it's mostly section 2 I think people could benefit from. I know myself reading through it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, now I understand that part. So it's good, yeah. And last part, strategy, you know, I'll go through it quick, but I don't think it's good to just blindly follow. Strategy in Foundry depends a lot on your alliance, your team, your strength and style of play, etc. Okay, so this first part gives the lore. It's a little confusing, but I'll let you all read that. And it's not really critical for the game anyway, so we won't focus too much on the lore here. Feel free to read these parts, but this is really the boring stuff. They talk about matchmaking being based on the top 25, but then also other stuff too. Like, it's a little vague. Let's just say that. Okay, first important point. You are color blue. Our color is always blue no matter what. The enemy is always color red no matter what. Basic but important fact. So always attack color red. Also important, to enter the battlefield you must have all marches recalled, all injured troops healed, etc. Okay, this is actually pretty important too. The battle will unfold in 3 phases, okay? At first, only these buildings are available: prototype, repair, boiler, and transit. Okay, only those. Then these other buildings open up in phase 2, Foundry aka Center, Mercenary Camp, and Munitions. And then finally phase 3 is Hidden Weapon Workshops. 3 phases, each with its own new source of points. Okay, scrolling, right, so this is important to note. Foundry is like practice. Nothing that happens there is real or will affect your real account. No one actually dies, no one actually gets injured. Okay, you get team points mainly through controlling the buildings we discussed. Notice it says there's a first time occupation bonus, and we'll discuss that soon. Skipping rewards and shop, you can read that on your own. Section 2, deepening knowledge. Okay, now we are getting into it. This is the good stuff. Okay, so here we're going to get into the building details. I think this is probably the most important section for folks to refresh themselves on. And we're going to start with the first buildings available in phase 1. If you remember from above, in phase 1 we have prototype, repair, boiler, and transit. Okay, going back down, let's start with prototype. Okay, there's always going to be 2 prototype sites, one on each side of the battlefield. And other than Foundry and Center, these are the most valuable buildings for generating arsenal points. You can see here the first time occupation bonuses, which are huge both for you and for the team. Be the first to take this building, you will get 6,000 points for the team and 3,000 points for yourself. I mean, Foundry and Center is only 50% more valuable than that. So think about getting a prototype site first and holding it. It's almost as good as Center. Next, we have repair facilities. There are 4 total, 2 on each side. These are like prototype sites, but just less valuable. You can see their first time occupation bonuses plus the points generated per minute. After that, they're about 50% less valuable than prototype, but don't sleep because there are 4 of them. So 4 repair facilities are just as good as 2 prototypes. And think about it this way: 1 prototype plus 1 repair is the same points as Center. That's why you know Center is nice, but you can definitely win without it. Okay, now let's talk about the other 2 buildings that don't give as much points, but that give important buffs. The value of these buildings are a little controversial. I tend to think they're not as valuable as people say, but I could be wrong. Anyway, transit. You will typically hear that holding transit is important. Why? You can see it generates less points. So the reason is this teleport buff. Basically, it reduces the cooldown on your team's free tele by 50%. That's helpful for moving around the map. Also, boiler room, the buff there is you can take control of buildings faster. Yeah, so those are the powers of transit and boiler. Next, if we go back up here, remember that in phase 2 we have Foundry open up in Center, Munitions, and Mercenary Camp. So let's go back down here and familiarize ourselves with these buildings too. Okay, Foundry aka Center. My humble opinion, if you look at the point structure for Foundry and consider the fact that Center isn't even available for the first part of the battle, then Center is not as critical as it seems. Just remember, the points earned from a prototype plus a repair equals the same as Center. I mean, if you're dominating and taking Center makes sense, then do it, but don't don't sweat it. Next building is Mercenary Camp, another low point building, but it lets you send mercenary attacks like a Crazy Joe attack basically. It's kinda, again, just my opinion, but if you're dominating then def grab it, but if not then don't sweat it. Okay, last building is Munitions Warehouse, and honestly y'all, I think this is the only low point building that you should sweat. It buffs your entire team's attack by plus 15% and debuffs the entire enemy team's attack by 15%, so effectively a 30% attack buff that makes taking and controlling every other building a lot easier, especially if the two sides are evenly matched. When this opens up, I tend to make sure we secure Munitions Warehouse before I even worry about center. It's such a huge advantage. Okay, so those are all the buildings. Kind of think about what each one gives you. I tend to want our team to focus on prototype and repair sites at first and not worry as much about transit and boiler, and then focus on munitions and center when they first open. I think that's the best route to victory if you can manage to do it. As always, you gotta stay flexible though. If the other side has everything focused on center, I would usually say screw it, we can win by taking all the prototype and repairs instead. Okay, now of all the parts in section 3, I think this is probably the most important for folks to refresh on. Remember that you get first hold bonus, but then you also keep generating points for every minute of additional hold time. Critical point here, for the first few minutes all those points are captured, but at a certain point the capacity becomes full. You'll know this has happened because you'll see a loot pile above the building that wasn't there before. At that point, only 50% of the hold time points are being captured, while the rest are sort of transient points that can still be captured for your team if you hold the building until the end of the battle, but also that can be spilled or flipped, as we tend to call it, and distributed as random loot chests around the building if you lose control of it. Okay, and finally, in phase 3, probably the one and most underutilized points in the game, hidden weapons workshops. I can't stress this enough. These are like random gathering nodes that appear late in the battle and that you cannot find without scanning the map by eye, and even then they are hard to even see. It's also usually when the battle is pitched and heated, and so these essentially free Farmville gathering nodes go unrealized by both sides. It's team points and personal points, and it's a lot. It's really sad that we miss these points. I really want one or two players on our team dedicated to just this in phase 3. We're working on it. Okay, so these strategies are interesting but pretty vanilla. Like I said, you really need to tailor your strats to your team. I'm sure there's some wisdom in here, but we're mostly going to skip this part for now because this is not really how our team approaches it. It might work really well for some, and maybe we need to be doing this, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, more stuff about those scattered loot chests. I think those are also key to winning. What I've started to do, just because I can usually move around the map and flip a building if needed, is I'll drop a location on squad chat. Remember, use squad chat during Foundry, and it'll say like be here in 15 seconds to collect loot, and then even people mostly zeroed in the safe zone can zoom in and try to grab spilled loot. It can really help. Okay, a quick note about healing. There is no micro healing in Foundry. Okay, no tap tap. Your only options are 3. First, speed heal ups. This is what I would recommend only in Foundry. This is really the only place it makes sense to use those speeding heal ups, JMO. Second, gem healing. Just don't do it. It's just Foundry. If we lose, it doesn't even really matter. At the end of the day, this is just practice and just for fun. I repeat, do not use gems to heal or tele or speed in Foundry unless you just have gems to throw away. It's not worth it. Or third, there's this leave the battlefield for 12 minutes trick. That's something I can cover in another video, or you can ask someone, post on Alliance chat, and they'll explain how to do it. It's a specific way you have to leave and come back. Simple, but if you do it wrong, it won't work. Okay, and final point here, personal points. Remember that you need to get at least 180,000 personal points to get max rewards for Foundry. As long as you get those 180,000 personal points, your rewards will be the max and same as anyone else on the team. So make sure not to forget those. Like it says here, you get points for offensive and defensive damage. So if you're desperate for personal points, you can look for a city to bully, just city attack them, or solo attack buildings, etc. The personal points will add up quick. Only problem, none of those points go to the team. Although zeroing an enemy, never bad. Never bad. But yeah, think about things like collecting spilled loot from flip buildings too, because those earn double points basically. You get personal points and the team gets points too. Same for first hole bonus, same for gathering those hidden weapons workshops. So fighting is one way to get points, but there are many ways, and some of them actually get the team points too. If you're a less powerful player, this is where you can still shine honestly. This is why I love Foundry. Everyone can contribute if they know their role and stay calm and clear head and just do their thing. Yeah, okay, so that's it for now. I basically just read through the game wiki tutorial, but hopefully made it a little more interesting and skip the boring shit. Okay, y'all, see you on the battlefield soon.